recorded. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to Blue Jobs webinar series. My name is Celia Murcia. I'm the founder of Blue Jobs, which is a job platform specialized in the marine sectors and the blue economy sectors. And I'm thrilled to have you join for today's webinar on careers in marine renewable energy sector. So we have registered more than 120 participants for today's session. I see on the chat that there are around 60 and this number is increasing. So I'm just going to go through what we are going to see during this next hour. So basically, we are going to learn about the trends in this marine renewable energy sector, especially in Europe. We are going to learn also about training and tools developed by key European funded projects on this sector to improve your skills if you are looking for a job in the offshore industry. Then we are going to have first-hand recruitment advice from this field. And we are going to find real jobs from the organizations that are here today with us. So just just for you to know, there is the question and answer box that you can use at any time to go through the questions that you have. As usual in our monthly meetings, monthly webinars, the record of the session will be available in YouTube in a few days. So just let me share my screen. Okay, right. Just 1 second, loading. Okay, perfect. Okay, so as I say, welcome to the meeting, to the webinar on Find a Job in the Marine Renewable Industry. Just to provide a bit of background on who we are. As I said, we are the online platform to find a job in marine science and sustainable blue economy. We have more than 5,000 experts registered in our platform now, but a community of nearly 40,000 people from more than 100 countries. So we are quite a worldwide platform. And during these few years, we have allotted more than 1,000 jobs in our platform and supporting organizations to find ideal candidates and for the job seekers to find their perfect jobs. So we cover most of the blue economy sectors, from oceanography to conservation and climate change, blue economy. But one of our key sectors also is marine renewable energy, and that's why we are here today. So as I said, for job seekers, if you are in these positions that you are looking for a job, we offer this database of jobs, but a lot of career guidance. That's why we do this kind of webinars. That the next one will be on the 4th of September, and it will be about blue biotechnology, just in case you are interested also in this sector. Then we have a lot of blogs and very important tools and information related to how to find a job, improve your skills, so you can have a look at our blog or just be connected on LinkedIn because we have a lot of resources there. For employers, basically for organizations that are looking for a candidate in these sectors, we help to do this much. But why we are here today? Because basically the marine renewable energy sector is one of the fastest growing sector in the European Union. I'm going to show you a couple of graphs from the EU Blue Economy report from the edition of this year that has been released just a few weeks ago. So if you want to go, you can find information in this report. So as you know, ocean energy includes renewable energy from different sources. Now we have offshore wind, but we also have different types of energy like wave, tidal, ocean currents. No, if we see this graph, the bottom fixed wind is the one that is actually more established right now, and the cost of producing this energy, as this has been more established and there has been more research for the latest years, the cost of generating this energy is also lower. We have other types of energy, wave and tidal, and we have one representation here of a company working on waves. So he can tell us a bit more about this type of energy. And then we have floating wind as well, no? As a solution when bottom fixed wind cannot be implemented in some areas. Offshore wind, at least in Europe, is currently the only commercial marine renewable energy that we have at wide scale adoptions. But in Europe, we're still like a bit behind. We are working on demonstration plans in a few countries, as you can see in the graph. The installed capacity is higher in countries like Germany, Denmark. We have today Christina from one organization from Germany. So in terms of GVA and also gross profit, I just put here some numbers, but the important thing from this is like it's increasing a lot from one year to the other, no? So the sector is growing a lot. And this is about employment. So these are numbers also really interesting for the people that are here attending. Basically, we employment by member state. We have Germany is the top country recruiting experts of this sector. But we have Denmark, Netherlands, Belgium. In any case, there are also positions in Portugal, in Spain, and a lot of places. No, there is an average annual salary that has been calculated in this report, which is around 71,000 euros per year. This is higher than in other blue economy sectors, and it's also increasing year by year. So I think this is quite an important figure to consider. As you can see in the first graph, the person employed has been increasing over the time. No, so I think it's very important to have this webinar because the industry obviously is growing. And I just put it here, different types of jobs that you can find in this sector. Obviously, more mechanical, marine engineering jobs. That one of the samples will be presented by Core Power today by William Smatty. But we have also jobs related to the supply industry, the construction, but also project development, no? Operation, maintenance, boating, transport, a lot of research and science, no? So the ones that you study, maybe marine biology, oceanography, and that you are not fit for an engineer position, but you are fit for this type of jobs, no? And something that is very important also is marine permitting and environmental regulation. So basically, all related to the environmental impacts that this installation will have on the environment, no? On the environment, but also on social, economic, that's important factors as well. So I just wanted to make this short presentation to get into the context, why it's important okay, I just stop it. Okay, so why this is important to discuss this on this webinar. Before getting into the presentation from the speakers, I just have one survey for you. I think you will see now on the screen. Basically, it is important also for the speakers to know what is your level of experience, if you are a student, recent graduate, junior or senior. And then if you already work in the marine renewable industry, or this is something new completely for you. Okay, that's a good mix. So we have a few students, a lot of recent graduates, junior, but also senior positions. So this is quite interesting. Only 15 of you have already worked on the marine renewable energy industry. So I guess there are a lot of interest for a career change, no, to move from one sector to the other within the blue economy sector. So this is quite interesting as well. Okay, thanks for voting. So I'm just going to introduce the first speaker, which is Lucía Fraga, is the coordinator of training in CETMAR, which is a technology center based in Galicia, in Spain. So she's involved in a lot of international cooperation projects related to marine and maritime sectors. As I said, Lucía coordinates European initiatives to promote skills development, specifically in this offshore industry. She's going to present a couple of projects, the FLORES and SHOREWINNER, which they have developed a few tools that could be interesting for the audience. So please, Lucía, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Celia, for this presentation. So as you said, I will present some utilities, especially selected for job seeker in the offshore renewable energies that we have developed in the frame of those projects. Let me check it's working. Okay. Just to start with, as Celia presented, the CETMAR, the Technology Center of the Sea, is based in the northwest of Spain. And we have the particularity that we work like an interface organization, mixing administrations, industry, other type of social organizations to promote sustainability and innovation in the sectors depending on the sea. So we mainly coordinate activities, and also we search for specialists for involving in those type of activities. And in my case, this is related to the training activities and capacity building to have a more resilient and sustainable sectors in the sea. So regarding the offshore renewable energies, as it has been presented today, there are a lot of expectations. And one of the activities that we are involved in is developing a vision to identify how training and capacity building can support the sector. And this is based, to develop this vision, we have analyzed as well the expectations of growth in terms of occupations in the offshore renewable energies, considering them as a whole, including these mature technologies as bottom wind, but also floating wind, waves, tides, sun. There are also technologies about the profit of the currents and even more gradients that are less developed now, but with high expectations. And what we found last year with the latest data is that there is an expectation of about more than 100,000 new jobs in the sector, just considering the European Union. That means that it's a lot more if we also consider UK, which is, let's say, the leader in the development of many of those technologies. In the UK, there have been a lot of developments since very early in Europe. So these expectations are increasing year to year. We had to review the numbers we have done in 2021 because the new installations that are expected since the last year have changed a lot the landscape. So this is just a picture to show that we started this line of action related to investigate on the capacity needs for a better development of the offshore renewable energies in 2018. And this was in the framework of another project, the MATES project. And since then, we have been involved in several projects, and all of them are grouped in one of the European initiatives, which is the Pact for Skills. We have working a consortium in the Pact for Skills supporting all these activities to promote a better preparation of the workforce in the offshore renewable energies based on better capacity building and more connection in between the industry and the training providers. So all this is based in the first project we started with that allowed us to develop a skills strategy, which has the main aim to fill the gaps that we can find between the expectations of the potential workforce. Most of you are in this group at present, with what the training offer is providing, and also the gap in between what the training offer is providing and what are the market needs. Based on that, within the first project we started with, we developed a strategy to promote activities in all the stakeholders that can support the bridge of these gaps. And this strategy is being deployed within this consortium under the Pact for Skills, which is an initiative from Europe that wants to develop funds in order to promote better lifelong learning. Partners that are seeing the Pact for Skills are committed to promote a lifelong learning culture for all, building skills partnerships, monitoring the skills supply and demand and the skills needs, and also working against discrimination and promoting equality and equal opportunities. So sorry for having a so long introduction, but this is like the frame for most of these activities. Our partnership at present is assembling 21 members, which are organized in 4 working groups. And I will present some of the more interesting results from some of those groups, the Skills Observatory and the Careers Working Group, which are part of the activity of this consortium. As you can see, the consortium assembles 21 members. Some of them are associations that are assembling most relevant industries in the sector of the offshore renewable, as we can find with Wind Europe and Ocean Energy Europe, but also Sea Europe, which is also developing most of the devices. But we also have not only industry, we also have an important group of research representing research, smaller group representing training providers, administrations. We also have trade unions and other type of organizations like ours, which cannot be easily classified in any of these sectors. So among the results of these working groups, I am sharing here the links to the most recent results of each one of those working groups, but I will present a couple of results from the observatory, and in particular the analysis of present skills needs in the in the countries where the offshore renewable energies are most developed and the emerging countries in Europe. We are not addressing UK in this case, and some of the materials that we have developed to promote a better knowledge of the careers and opportunities in the offshore renewable energy sector. So regarding this analysis of present skills needs, I will just present a small result of one of the sections of this analysis, in which we analyzed more than 900 online job vacancies between April and October 2023 in all those countries, which, as I said, they represent the most developed countries for this sector, but also some emerging countries. And we found that the occupational groups in highest demand were including science and engineering professionals and also science and engineering associate professionals. I highlighted those because I believe we have more profiles related to science in this group. If we go to the top 10 of occupational profiles in highest demand, we would find project manager, offshore renewable energy technician, offshore renewable energy engineer, and a list that goes until the energy system engineers. For all these top 10 occupations, the type of skills and capacities and type of needs that have been more requested in the occupational profiles have been analyzed, and you can find this type of information in our report. Regarding the careers, we have developed 16 short videos and interviews with ambassadors in the offshore renewable energies. We call them ambassadors. They are just people working in the sector that have accepted to share their experience and present some of the features of their jobs. And this is accessible on the links that I just shared before. And we also developed some materials to introduce the offshore renewable energies in the training programs in secondary schools, and also to develop activities to know the occupations. We have here a card game that is coupled to the interviews as well, and also descriptions that are in our website. And just to finalize, because the idea was to have a short presentation, one of the latest projects in which we have been involved is addressing these emerging countries in the Southern Europe that are now deploying preparing all the legislation and the spatial planning to deploy the offshore renewable energies, mainly thinking on floating wind in these moments and probably floating for any other technology. And the SHOREWINNER project in which we are involved is addressing the preparation in terms of skills and preparation of the training centers that are addressing renewable energies to better prepare the workforce in this near future in which the deployment of the sector will start. In the 5 countries that are being involved are Spain, Portugal, Italy, Greece, and Cyprus. And in all those, in each one of those, the vocational excellence training center is being deployed. That means that we are focusing on putting together efforts from the industry and the training providers in all the design of the training and the orientation of the existing training. So in this project, we can offer also a dedicated space to the community interested in being prepared for the offshore renewables, mainly in those countries, but not only, which is the SHOREWINNER platform that anyone can join to post and read about what we are posting about the latest developments in the offshore renewable energies. There are some also job postings, specifically addressing the offshore renewable energy. It is not as wide as what you can find in blue jobs. And also spaces for interaction with the experts in the offshore renewable energy that are involved in the project. And I just stop here. I will share also, sorry, because I didn't correct here the contact. I will correct it before sharing it with you, because to let my contact, because anyone is interested.
We can set the right contact. Thank you so much, Lucía. Just a question from my side. Who can join this SHOREWINNER network platform? Anyone, or is for organizations?
No, it's anyone. It's for persons interested and we are seeking for students willing to develop a career in the offshore renewable energies, teachers mainly, but also professionals or experts that may be interested in being involved in such a community.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I saw another question also on the chat, question for Lucia. Is there any available free training on marine renewable energy? Is there any, within these European projects, have you developed any training?
Yes, we have developed some pilot experiences, and some of them led to some MOOCs that are available in the contact in the FLORES website. I'm not sure if they are being run again with because they run them with orientations on the first time, but then they are open to the public.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much, Lucia. If there are any other questions, we will let you know later. Okay, thank you. So we can move now to our next speaker, which is Cristina Simioli, the director of the Offshore Energy and Nature at the Renewables Grid Initiative. This is an NGO based in Germany. Basically, Cristina focused on ensuring that the expansion of the marine renewable energy is also compatible with marine protection. She's going to present actually two jobs opportunities that they are available at right now at Renewables Grid Initiative. So, Cristina, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Thank you very much, and thanks for inviting me and offering this opportunity. So I've been already introduced. So today I'm going to talk about an organization and one project and two positions related to both. The organization offering the two positions is called the Renewables Grid Initiative. This is an NGO based in Berlin. This was established in 2009 with the idea that in order to develop renewables, we actually need the grid infrastructure. So the grid infrastructure is a key enabler of the energy transition today, and we brought together the transmission system operators who are responsible for the build-out of the grid infrastructure and environmental and climate NGOs. Now, as you can imagine, two potential enemies, I would say, that have been brought together in order to constructively identify principles for a sustainable development of the grid. Now, we are based in Berlin, as I said. Our members, being both industry and NGOs, they cover most of the countries of the Western Europe. So as you can see here, for each country, we have a transmission system operators and an NGO in order to balance the perspective of how the grid should be developed in the most sustainable way. RGI is structured in three thematic areas. One is a technical area. Therefore, in order to understand how much renewables we need and how an energy mix should look like, we work on scenarios building and modeling. Very technical, but we created a space for civil society organizations in order to be able to intervene and shape the planning of the renewables and the grid. Then we have a section, a thematic area that we will talk about today, which is energy and nature. Today I will tell you about the offshore part, but there is also an onshore part. Therefore, there are developments onshore and offshore. Today I will tell you about the offshore. But then it goes without saying that we cannot talk about sustainability if we don't talk about people. And therefore, we have then a thematic dimension that looks at the effects of the energy infrastructure on local communities and tries to find ways of actually reducing the impact on the communities and looking for benefits for those. As said, we are going to focus on the offshore part. Back in 2020, we have established a project, a collaborative project called Offshore Coalition for Energy and Nature. Now, we have today, so many years after, we have today two coalitions. One focusing on the North and the Baltic Sea, and one focusing on the Mediterranean and the adjacent Atlantic waters. Our projects are totally financed by the Renewables Grid Initiative, therefore they are not financed by the industry itself, and are meant to bring together these three groups of stakeholders that you can see in these slides, being the wind developers and wind associations, the transmission system operators, and the NGOs. At the center, you see Renewables Grid Initiative, because we are the funders, of course, but also the moderator and the facilitator of this coalition. We also have supporting organizations from the global sphere like IUCN or from the European sphere like Sea at Risk. They all work on how to make offshore wind and grid compliant with the protection and the restoration of our oceans, and therefore they contribute to our overall missions. So this is the North and the Baltic, where, as actually mentioned at the very beginning, we talk about technologies. So mostly in the North, it's about bottom fix, but of course there is a growing role that floating is going to play, because we will need more space, and going farther offshore is one of the solutions, with many complications, but is one of the solutions. Now, we also work with the coalition in the Mediterranean, and as I said, the adjacent Atlantic waters. We cover Italy, France, Spain, and Portugal, basically where for each country, again, we have a TSO, we have the wind industry representative from the associations, and then we have the NGOs. The Mediterranean has different challenges compared to the North Sea. The North Sea has already capacity, therefore it's very complicated to find space, and there are conflicts overall that can be found with the protection and the restoration needed. The Baltic is actually going to develop new offshore capacity, but nevertheless, they are more advanced in the planning. In the Mediterranean, it is more complicated, but also because floating, as I was referring to earlier, is the key technology, and floating is still not at the commercial phase like bottom fix. Therefore, it has still some technical, environmental challenges that can be addressed, but need to be acknowledged. Now, what do we do? So basically, we have established a platform of exchange, meaning that we are the third party as Renewables Grid Initiative, convening this platform of exchange where on a yearly basis, we identify the topics of interest for our members. Our members are required to contribute to our work plan and to vote for it. Therefore, we jointly decide on what we can be more impactful, what needs to be tackled, and on what we can be more impactful. We create a common understanding because different groups of stakeholders, believe me, they do not speak the same language, sometimes not even one group of stakeholders, so it's very challenging. Therefore, three groups of stakeholders that try to understand concepts applied to the marine environment. What is nature-inclusive design, which is actually among the key topics addressed also by the EU-funded projects. So we needed to understand what is this, because there is not a definition. Therefore, once we define, we understand each other, we try to give our own interpretation and definition, we then identify the knowledge gaps, and we engage with the broader network that goes beyond our own network, with academia, with research, with many different institutions working at the regional level. All of this is made to advocate and to find solutions for offshore wind and grids to be in compliance with, as I said, protection and restoration, because we truly believe that the two are not in contradictions. Last but not least, we collect practices, we walk the talk. Therefore, we collect practices to show that this is actually feasible and identify recommendations then for the institutions, for the member states to implement. Now, we cover many different topics. And as I said, on a yearly basis, we decide together through members' assemblies, to senior representative meetings, and very dynamic interactive processes. I have to say, very exciting with our members, what we should focus on. But I can summarize this in two blocks. One aspect is the maritime spatial planning. This is a key tool at sea in order to balance all the human activities also with one that is not a sector, which is nature. And therefore, this is key because there is a need of balancing these activities and reducing the conflicts. And MSP is key because you can identify areas. And then is the moment where actually you can address many of the problems that will emerge later on at the project level. Therefore, MSP is key. But then is also key to address, of course, other aspects like auctioning for offshore wind. Basically, a project wins based on cost. But now the European Commission introduced new non-price criteria. Therefore, a project can win also based on environmental and socioeconomic criteria. As you can understand, this improves the overall performance, environmental and financial and I would say social performance of a project. And then we look at how to reduce the impact, therefore, how you can mitigate the impact of the infrastructure, and eventually also how can the infrastructure bring what is very a trend topic now, the one of nature positive, how it can enhance specific habitats and species. Now, I'm going directly into the positions. We are looking for two positions. So one is on policy. Looking at the seniority of the position, it's not a junior, it's not a senior, it's in between. So basically, we are looking for a policy, energy, and nature manager. So what does this mean? We need someone who can lead on the policy analysis. The Commission produces many policies on a yearly basis. And therefore, we need someone that can actually support the analysis in order to inform our discussion with our members. As you can see here, the challenge is that we're not just talking about energy, but also environment, and therefore to understand also the connection between the two. We need someone who has excellent writing skills because we need to produce compelling content. Therefore, it's about being able to connect these energy and environmental aspects, but also to do this with our members, also to understand how we can find common grounds. Therefore, there is always an element of actually being able to negotiate and to find solutions that can be win-win solutions. Then it goes without saying that our events, we organize many events with a very high representative from commissions and member states or regional institutions, is a key part of the task that this person will be taking on, not on the logistics, but on framing the topic. Each event needs to respond to a policy objective, and therefore we need this person to contribute also in everything that we do that entails communication and events in order to be as impactful as possible. Then building partnerships and networks, depending on the topics. This is a key aspect. And also very important, we need to do fundraising because we support our NGO network, and therefore we need actually to do fundraising in order to make our project then continue. Therefore, fundraising is also very important when it comes to the policy dimension of it. A description of the policy dimension is key. It goes without saying that then in the end also we have many different activities as I described earlier, and it's possible that the person needs or may express interest in being involved in others' RGI projects and activities. Now, qualification and skills. As I said, we are looking for profiles. Usually it's not possible to find both, but we will need someone that at least has either a profile understanding, so a background when it comes to university, but also experiences, because we're talking about at least 3 years on the energy or on the environmental aspects. And this can mean many different things when it comes to the seascape, when it comes to the blue economy. But ideally, we would like someone that can understand both, because this is actually what our work is about. But starting from one or the other with the willingness, clear, and an interest in deepening the gap, whether it is energy or environment, is something that we should actually we are looking for. Now, management skills, very important. So we are very hectic. It's a moment where the business is going through a transformation. Therefore, we need the person to be a very good project manager in order to timely deliver and in order to be able actually to juggle different and multiple tasks. Excellent English, it goes without saying, but very important. We really think that it's a plus any other European language. As I said, we work in the Mediterranean, in many different countries. We work in the North Sea, in the Baltic. Therefore, any language that can actually allow us to better understand the national context is very much welcome. In experience in the international and in disciplinary environment goes without saying, and then a team-oriented, I would say, to summarize, aptitude is definitely the most successful for candidates to apply. Now, the junior manager, this is a junior, as the title say, it's about comms. So that basically it's about our social media, it's about the organization of our events, it's about contributing to overall content production, can be also be website, and it's about a possible contribution to the development of all our work that is organized through task forces. Now, therefore, here, social media is at the center. We have a channel, we want to create content for the channel. We have a website that needs actually to be always kept up to date and always with the new content. And also we have, as I said, many events, and therefore it's very important that this person can support us in the organization of the logistics and increasingly also in many other aspects of the events themselves. Now, here again, we go for generalist profiles most of the time. So political science, relationship, international relationships, but then it can also come from the environmental or from the communication. So this is really, it depends on your personal preference and experience that you need to point out in your application. Here there is a minimum of 1 year experience, so it doesn't have to be work experience, but at least a traineeship, an apprenticeship, something that can show that you have actually walked your first steps into the sectors that we cover. Excellent English communication, I would say that here most preferably also mother tongue, because communication is something that requires actually, we would avoid having other people having to edit and proofread the text. Therefore, if not the mother tongue, but it has to be excellent English communication skills. And it goes without saying that other European languages are always a plus. Now, here it's very important because the attention to the detail for this profile is key. Therefore, proofreading, copywriting is one of the things that, the tasks that are very important for this profile. And I would say that on top of everything that you see here in this slide, we would really appreciate also someone having digital design skills. This is very important because more and more we need, as you can imagine from our perspective, to disseminate the content. And we need to disseminate it, for instance, with infographics, therefore to create visuals that can make the concept that we are working on accessible to the larger targets and audience. Now, what we offer. So for sure, we offer a unique perspective because we are now a recognized voice in the European sphere when it comes to discuss about offshore wind, grids, and environmental aspects. And we work on these aspects, and it's a privilege to be able to tackle all of these and to have such an overview. Then we work with very committed partners from all sides. Therefore, you will be working with the top developers, the top TSOs, the top NGOs, and this is actually a great opportunity to get to know their knowledge and expertise and perspectives. We are operating in an industry that is going through a massive transformation, and the number says that it's a promising industry, but also it's so important to be able with a holistic and multidisciplinary perspective to support the development of this industry. As we were saying earlier, it's not just about engineers, they are key, of course, but it's much more, and there is a need for this multi-stakeholder and holistic approach. Then we work at the heart of the European and the international sphere, so not just the Commission, the Parliament, regional associations like OSPAR, like HELCOM, but also at the international level with the UN agencies. It can be the UN Global Compact, the IOC, UNESCO, and many others. Now, and last but not least, I think it's very important. You will be part of a team that is able and actually that is called to shape the organization. Our organization today has 35 employees, so from actually 20 different nationalities, and each of them actually is contributing to shape the future of the organization itself. Now here I leave you with some highlights when it comes to discussion papers, to statements. For instance, the policy manager will actually be working on many of the statements and the recommendations, but also to show you the different communication products that we produce, being a conference, being a presence at the Wind Europe conference every year. That is the most important conference at the European level where we bring NGOs and environmental perspective, or being webinars. We have different series of webinars on nature-inclusive design, on reduction of the impact of the infrastructure, and last but not least, on regulatory landscape in order to understand how member states in Europe are addressing this challenge of offshore wind and nature protection and restoration. This is the last slide. You can find all the information on our website. Therefore, if you want to learn more about our activities, but also the position themselves. You will also find the procedures in order to apply. Be very careful, follow the procedures by the letter, because we only accept applications that follow thoroughly the procedure themselves. So thank you very much, and I hope this was informative.
Thank you so much, Christina. No, it was great to hear about the activities of your organization, but also the list of skills that are requested by organization on this sector. No? So job seekers can see if they need to upskill, no, reskill to work in this sector. There were a few questions. The first one is kind of a repeated questions today. If these jobs only available for European citizens? I guess in this case.
So in this case, so the location is Berlin, and therefore the applicants needs to have then ready all the documents in order to be able to move to Berlin. So as I said, I didn't say that, but the junior, we are going to close the position in 1 week, and therefore, because usually it's as soon as we find the right candidate, but 1 week, I think, because we have received many good applications. On the policy, there is still actually, we keep it open until we find the candidate, but I would say at least for the next month, therefore you can apply. The position is in Berlin. Therefore, it's not that we limit the applications, but the delegation is in Berlin, and candidates will need to have all the papers in order to be able to work in Europe.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I think we are going to move to the next speaker, and then we do a few questions more for the speakers. So now is the turn for William Smatty. He works for Core Power Ocean, which is a wave energy company based in Sweden. Basically, William supports all the recruitment in the company, focusing on engineer, on operation, technical roles. So I think it's a good example that we have Christina with more type of jobs, more for marine conservation, policy, maritime spatial planning, and now we have another side of the sector, which is more engineer. So William, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Just 1 second, I'll attempt at sharing my slides. Hop. And can you see my screen?
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect.
No, it's not in full.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can do it like this. So thanks for having me, first of all. I'll just go through a bit about what Corporation are, who we are, and a bit around our team, different divisions within our company, and what the hiring scope looks like both now and in the future. So who we are, we're Corporation. We're a Swedish company headquartered in Stockholm, with offices in Stockholm and Viana do Castelo in Portugal, which is our first full-scale testing site. Also,
sorry,
as office.
The presentation is not moving.
Oh, is it?
No.
Still not?
No, it's not in full screen, but it's not moving. Now it's moving. Okay.
Yeah, I think I'll just leave it here. There's
perfect. Yeah.
There's nothing top secret here. But our 2 main offices are in Stockholm, where it's mostly our engineering, design, and testing, and then in Portugal, in northern Portugal, Viana do Castelo, where we have our ocean testing site, as well as composite manufacturing. We're around 90 employees now, and 27 nationalities the last time we counted. But what we do essentially is developed, we're an OEM, so we develop the entire technology. So these wave energy converters. But since we're in an industry where we're essentially shaping the wave energy industry, we're also having to do a lot of the infrastructure work. So like all of the ancillary services to install these converters, stuff like the surveying, the cable installations, the substation work, etc. We have backing from quite a few energy majors currently, including ESB and Total Energies, and also raising some quite significant funding to enable us to keep going and try and make wave energy a global industry. How we're doing this is essentially scaling quite slowly but surely. So we've been around for around 13 years. We started off with very small scale testing at a concept level, then moving to more ocean field testing, which we did in Orkney in Scotland back in 2018. And now currently we've tested our first full scale prototype. And what the next 3 years look like is essentially multiplying that. So installing 3 more of these prototypes, which we need testing for a certain amount of time in order for us to sell our converters to our clients. It's a very we say it's like an ultra marathon. It takes a really long time to develop this type of machinery, and it really takes the right people and the right mentality to be very stubborn and just keep going when things don't seem to work, let's say. It's a huge opportunity, not only from a sustainability and carbon reduction perspective, but also just simply an untapped resource that's not being commercialized currently. Just to give you a bit of an idea of how the device sort of works, this is our C4 full-scale prototype, which we installed a year and a half ago. And what we're scaling into is essentially what we sell to our future projects are not just one converter, but it's packs of 10 to 30 megawatts. So when I was talking about the infrastructure before, it's not only, we're going from very small scale converter here to a whole range of converters with connected to each other through subsea cables, connected to a floating substation. It's really we're in the stage of growing quite rapidly, and obviously the workload is growing with that. So it's, I guess the problem wave energy has always had is developing a technology that's reliable enough to survive in the ocean, but also lightweight enough to generate enough motion and enough energy for the materials and the cost. So we've had to scale from small to large in order to make those economies of scale and balance fundraising and what we can actually prove our device can do. In terms of the actual team, so I mentioned that we're 90 full-time employees. I'd say 99% of us are full-time employees. We don't use a lot of consulting services, for example, which is quite atypical for the offshore industry. But our teams who hire more or less a few times a year, let's say. But we have mechanical engineering, we have electrical engineering, systems, software, projects, commercial, supply chain, and marine operations and testing. it's a lot of engineering. Right now, it's I'd say 95% engineers within the company from a really wide range of backgrounds. I'd say how diverse we are is not just by the amount of nationalities we have, but the amount of different engineering disciplines can really bring added value from different industries and different technologies, whether it's other offshore technologies like floating wind, wind energy, but also car manufacturing, lifting equipment, any heavy industries, for example. I think we really see added value gained from how different industries have managed to grow. So I guess the message I'm saying is, it's not because we work in a very niche industry that we're looking for only people with the same exact niche experience that that we currently have. We currently have an open position currently in our marine operations team. This is actually a team that we're starting from more or less scratch. We have one other marine operations engineer currently, but this is somewhere where we actually haven't been able to find the adequate services externally. So we're building a small team of 5 over the next few years in order to work on all of our pilot installation projects, but also look after this testing campaign in Viana do Castelo. But then we'll be looking at our future projects in, for example, Ireland, Scotland, it could be Spain, Japan, Australia. We really have a huge opportunity globally, but currently Western Europe is a very promising ground for us. But there's a lot of work to be done on our end in terms of establishing processes, in terms of writing correct procedures when operating offshore. So I think with regards to who we're looking for in this specific position, it gets quite niche, and to be honest, it ties well into the sort of recruitment insights overall. We're still operating at quite a small scale when it comes to our offshore operations. We don't have the same let's say bank accounts isn't the word, but we don't have the same means than some of the much larger developers in oil and gas, for example. We don't own our own vessels. We don't own our own cranes on the quayside, etc. And it takes a lot of flexibility and problem solving to be able to adapt to different equipment like that. So we tend to see that those who have worked on smaller projects and that have been able to have a much broader scope and responsibilities tend to fit in a lot better into our team, and tend to get a bit less frustrated when we don't have the means to do what some of our larger counterparts can. Then I'd say there's some specific offshore and marine related software packages that are quite niche, and I think this is a sort of insight overall when you're looking for an opportunity within the space, is to really highlight that, even if it's something that's extremely specialized. You never know which other company might be using that, and it takes quite a while to get used to those packages. For us, as an example, we have OrcaFlex for our loads case studies and impact scenarios offshore, and that's something that we're anytime we see OrcaFlex on someone's CV, it's like it's definitely eye-opening. Let's put it that way. And then there's the programming skills, which I think applies to all of our engineering disciplines. Strong Python is something that, whether it's at the student level or the highly experienced level, if you're not a strong programmer, it will make it a lot more difficult, let's say. I can highlight the language skills for us in particular. This is purely because of our Portuguese site at the moment. Portuguese is quite interesting for us, purely for the supplier communications, but also dealing with port authorities, dealing with vessel suppliers, etc. I think sometimes language skills is just you can't look past it. Overall, I'd also say that we've hired a quite wide range of people, whether it's straight from PhDs or master's thesis to actual sort of those within industry. But if you are coming straight from R&D, it's those that have done the successful pivot into industry are those that can really demonstrate like the industrial mindset when it comes to working on specific deadlines, working on a product where it's not going to be the finished product. You know that it's not perfect, but you need to move on. Is really something worth highlighting. Then I'd say, as last but not least, for us, since we're working at quite the cross section between onshore work when it comes to like design, for example, and testing, but then offshore for testing and operations, it's really finding that balance. We're not fully offshore yet when it comes to operations, if that makes sense, since we don't have enough operations yet. In 2-3 years there will be, but the way you work typically in offshore is a lot more contract based and rotation based, which is quite different to what we provide as a startup, for example. So that's something that's quite difficult in general for both sides, I think. And then I'll just highlight that internship and thesis work for us in particular, we've had a lot of interns and thesis topics worked on through various faculties. Some have worked really well and ended up really proving some key knowledge in a specific field. And we've hired people on a permanent basis through that mechanism. What I can say is that all these different divisions within the company, we're always open to hearing about people interested in an internship. We can only provide those in Sweden, so Stockholm, Oslo, and Viana do Castelo. But if you're studying in one of these fields and you're looking at a thesis topic, if you find a very interesting topic, just get in touch. We'll always be open to exploring that idea. I feel like I've gone over time, so I'll stop sharing my screen.
Thank you so much, William. No worries. I think we are about to finish, but just a few questions from the audience. I think you reply most of them, like how open are companies to hire people that have not 100% experience on marine renewable energies. I think you just said that you actually prefer to have also this mix of experience, considering also onshore work. There is also a question from non-European citizens that if they are able to find a job in the marine renewable energy industry in Europe, and I think your company is one of the examples with more than 20 nationalities. There was another question. Sorry, yes, go ahead.
Do you want to read them all out and then I answer? Or
No,
I'll try and remember them.
Go ahead. Sure.
On that topic, we're able to hire, let's say, anyone from anywhere. We typically give sort of preference to local, so EU talent first. but a lot of the niche hires, we're very open to considering anyone from anywhere in the globe. I think it's there's particular areas across the globe that are much more advanced that in specific fields than we are. So we're always open. We're able to provide some relocation assistance, but mostly assistance when it comes to like making socially and providing the visa assistance. But yeah, we're always open. It has to be the right skill set, basically.
Okay. You also, I think you replied to the software question. What type of software do you use at mechanical, electrical design, simulation, and marine renewable? You said OrcaFlex, programming, Python.
There's quite a few software packages, and I'm probably going to butcher most of them. I know that for like structural analysis, we use ANSYS. For our mechanical design, it's Creo. And then load simulations, OrcaFlex, and then for most of our like projects and commercial team, it's all Python based. I'd say those are the main ones that we're less flexible on, but the rest is I probably don't know them off the top of my head.
No, there will be a lot, I'm sure. Okay, so I think we are getting to time. I think if you want to provide just one final recommendation tip for job seekers that I'm looking for a job in this industry, which one would be?
I think it depends of like the level of experience of said person. I'd say if you're on the more junior end, internship experience in roles that are like as broad as possible, where you can do, let's say if you're working in mechanical design, if you can work on like actual design on like CAD, but also some like structural analysis at the same time, those are typically the better engineers that can work in a smaller team, because we are quite small here. That typically works out very well. At the more experienced level, apart from the obvious like the networking side, and I'd say just showing a clear interest in the field. I can't recommend specific courses, but I think following the industry well, like how the funding environment is, how like public bodies work with private companies like us to enable us to grow, stuff like that is just it just shows a clear interest, and you'll understand a bit more like some of our issues when it comes to growth and technological issues. So yeah, just getting into the actual like blue economy and offshore economy. Otherwise, experience-wise, it's just like highlighting some stuff that you may already have. For example, our wave energy converter, if you look at it and just purely take away the fact that it's floating and in the ocean, it's just a very heavy, big mechanical electrical machine. So any big machines that have been built for harsh environments that you've worked around, that's super relevant. So yeah, it's just about highlighting maybe 10% of your previous position that is very relevant to us.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Any final words from Cristina and Lucía on recommendations, tips? Would you like
I can give a few tips from this analysis on skills needs. For instance, it has been found that the transversal skills, these non-technical skills are sometimes of equal importance, in most times of equal importance related to the technical skills. And those soft skills, communication and collaboration is key, not only with other stakeholders, but in many cases, as it has been shown today here, you have multidisciplinary teams, so it's quite relevant in the occupations in the offshore renewable energy sector. And also because being offshore, this pluridisciplinarity is very relevant because we are working at sea, and at the end you have to have information and knowledge about very different aspects that are working on the sea.
Okay, thank you so much. So working on soft skills. Christina?
Yeah, just to complement what William and Lucia just said. So in our case, I think it's important because we have requirements for qualification and skills, of course, but a genuine interest in the topic is key. So that if offshore wind is of interest, there are so many sources in order to get acquainted with the content and different aspects of it. So from reading newspapers on policy developments, on looking at specific examples. I don't know, for instance, on our website, we have webinars, events, presentations. So these shows, along with the requirements, sometimes we can be more flexible, but the genuine interest in studying the subject can be a way sometimes to compensate where, for instance, there is not enough work experience, because at least it shows that there is also an understanding of the topic. Then the experience can come along afterwards. So this is at least for the experience of the Renewables Grid Initiative.
Okay, thank you so much, Christina. So I think we just ran out of time. Thank you all the three speakers and also our audience. There were a lot of questions. We just tried to reply most of them. So I also thank our audience for joining today. So thank you so much and see you in the next webinar. Thank you.